What is happening? What is happening? Earnestly podcast. This is going to be a loaded week of podcasts. A lot of podcasts coming up, actually. In addition to this one, we got the show, of course, coming, which will drop on, I believe, we're recording it tomorrow night, Thursday night, which should be up on the feed by most likely overnight, Friday morning, overnight. We got, this show. You're going to have another podcast tomorrow, the Shoot the Shit podcast, which, of course, I had to reschedule from last week, because I was sick. So I rescheduled to tomorrow. So you got at least 3 more shows. This one and 2 more coming up later in the week. So this will be a good show. This podcast we're gonna have on my old friend and actually a good friend of the podcast now. Has been on the show quite a few times now. My New York Mets buddy Cliff Connors will be on the show. We're gonna talk about the Mets, their spring training, and what's going on there. He's gone to at least 6 spring training games this year. Obsessed Met fan, but he'll give me the rundown what's going on with the team this year. I haven't really followed I love baseball, but I don't follow spring training in the way that he does. So we'll check in and see how the state of the Mets, we'll see what they're doing. But let's start here first. I want to start here first. The Odell Beckham Jr. trade heard around the world 24 hours ago. I actually had thought about doing a rapid reaction podcast right in the onset, but I decided to wait, let it simmer a little bit before I get my thoughts and all that, how I feel. Because in the onset, when I saw the trade, the first thing I thought was okay, that's fine. What are they getting back? What are the Giants getting back? I'm a Giants fan, so obviously this impacts me on a personal level. Now, granted, I've been able in recent years to, could we say, separate my love for my teams and me doing media and me being unbiased in that way. I do have love for my teams, obviously. I love the Giants. I definitely love the Miami Heat. Mets in baseball, New York Rangers in hockey, but I do know how to be very transparent and very unbiased in that way. I know how to manage that. The fandom versus what I need to be fair when it comes to talk about these teams on my show. So. The Mets, the Giants, not the Mets. The Giants get back in this deal. The Giants get back the Cleveland Browns number 17 pick in the first round. They get their 3rd round pick, and they get back also Jabril Peppers, very talented, definitely a starting defensive back in the NFL, solid guy. And in the onset, I was okay with the deal. In the onset, I was like, yeah, this is solid. The Giants gave a guy, look, the Giants are rebuilding. That's quite obvious. They're rebuilding. They're going to embrace the rebuild process. At least that's what we think the direction's going in. But the more and more I sit with this thing, the more I'm thinking, I'm not sure if what they're doing is correct. I'm not even sure what they're doing, honestly. Because now we heard reports that came out in the last couple hours that the Giants don't even plan on getting a quarterback in this draft. Like they don't plan on going after Kyle Murray or Dwayne Haskins. Obviously, a lot of people are putting blame towards Eli Manning, that the Giants chose Eli over Odell, which I think is actually horseshit, in my opinion, because I don't think that really impacted what happened here. I don't think Eli Manning plays more than one more year going forward. I think Eli Manning will be the quarterback next year in 2019, regardless of whether Odell Beckham's on his team or not. Because even if the Giants were to draft a quarterback, let's say they do draft a quarterback in April, okay? Let's say they do go that route. Eli Manning will still be a benefit to have in terms of being that bridge from this era of Eli Manning and being the starting quarterback into the next era. So obviously he will still be a benefit. So Eli Manning was this idea that the Giants chose Eli over Odell. I think I find that very ludicrous, and I find that very very short. Very this is not a very measured statement to make, in my opinion. But I am concerned about the Giants going forward because Dave Gettleman. I mean, look, this is the 2nd year. And, I mean, I know we were very cold. I know a lot of Giant fans, including myself, to some degree, was very cold on Jerry Reese toward the end of his tenure. Even though his tenure did, conjure up 2 Super Bowls. I mean, it did conjure up 2 Super Bowls in New York Giants, but around that, it was, especially the last couple of years, the team definitely deteriorated. And now we had Dave Gettleman, very old school guy, let Landon Collins walk. And again, Landon Collins, the price tag, a lot of money that Washington paid for him. So if you look at it on those standards, kind of glad the Giants didn't pay that kind of money for Landon Collins. Although Landon Collins is a very talented player. But again, I'm not sure if that was the right move for the Giants to do. I don't know. There's a lot of questions. It feels like this team's rebuilding. It feels that way. But I think the major question here is, do we trust this front office to do it the right way? Do Giants fans trust the front office? And it seems like right now the Giants fans are getting impatient. It seems like Giants fans right now are getting a little bit impatient. And Dave Gettleman's saying that, I wouldn't trade this guy, if you just sign him, which again, that's all horse shit, because in the end, you do what's best for your team. You do what's best for your team. If you, there was no secret. I mean, there was just too much out there. Odell Beckham was on a train block. Okay, anybody that says otherwise is just lying to you. Gettleman said what he said. Doesn't matter. Odell Beckham was always on the train block, and that's just it. So, in the onset for the Giants, this could be the worst team in football next year. I mean, it's very possible. I'm not very excited about the team next year. I mean, let's see how they do in the draft to see if these rumors are true that they don't go quarterback. This is probably Eli Manning's last year on the center for the team. This is definitely a big transitional year. Now, people are also saying, why didn't the Giants, if they knew they were going to trade Odell Beckham now, why didn't they trade him last year? Well, here's the reason why. Now, obviously they didn't tell me this. I'm just going based on my opinion here. I think the reason why the Giants did not trade Odell Beckham and the reason why they re-signed him is because their mindset last year was that the Giants' issues were not huge, not big issues. That the Giants front office looked at the 2018 season as, well, we can plug a few holes and then we could be in playoff contention. I thought so too. And remember that also, people say, 3-13 the year before that. Yeah, but don't forget the year before that, they were also 11-5 in the playoffs. So, which team was the real Giants? The one that was 11-5 or 3-13? Somewhere in the middle. So you change the coach, who, McAdoo, who went totally off the walls, who was terrible. And by the way, I never bought into even the first year he was there. Even the year in the playoffs, I never bought into Ben McAdoo. So that's just where I stand on that. But I thought the Giants, I believe the Giants' mindset coming into last year was that this team was a few pieces away from being back in play contention. You draft the best player in the draft, Saquon Barkley, which, by the way, they got right. Look, everybody's now having religious history about, they should have drafted a quarterback before. Probably so, but at the same time, you can't sit there and say it now because, in hindsight, because I think Eli Manning, even with some of the deterioration we've seen in the last couple of years, still earned the right to turn it around. I've been beating that drum all year long. But now we're here. Okay? The season went the way it went, and that's it. And now the team is now in rebuild mode. So there you go. So again, for the Giants, it's going to be probably a long climb back to contention. For the Browns, on paper, probably the best team in the division in the AFC North. Okay, I said on the podcast earlier in the week with Kyle Nash doing the game report that the Steelers, even with losing Antonio Brown, I thought the Steelers were probably still the odds-on favorite to win the AFC North. Then this move happened, and they also with the Browns too. Also, which is actually kind of under the radar, is that in addition to getting Odell Beckham, they get Sheldon Richardson. They got a couple other players. They get Olivier Vernon from the Giants also last week in that trade, big trade which went on the radar on pass rushing talent there. So the Cleveland Browns are in a position right now to actually do some big things. Now, what is their ceiling, you ask me? Well, I think their ceiling right now is definitely win division. That's definitely the ceiling right now. I don't think they're better than Kansas City right now. I don't think they're better than the Patriots. I don't think they're better than the Chargers. And I think this is still something to be said whether or not they're actually as good as Indianapolis or Houston. We'll see. First year coach Freddie Kitchens. There's gonna be that's his challenge here. A lot of egos in the room. But it is a very flashy team, a very interesting team. This team should win the division. The AFC North is up for the taking. Now, I will say that the Ravens did do have some good signings today as well, too. They signed Mark Ingram from the Saints. They also signed Earl Thomas from the Seahawks. So, The Ravens are starting to firm up the roster a little bit now too as well. So look out for them. But overall, Ravens have questions to answer, especially with Lamar Jackson, the quarterback. Where will he be moving forward? How will he be better than he was last year? Will he be more of a pocket presence? We'll see. The Bengals obviously are rebuilding. The Steelers, of course, losing Bell and Brown. Let's see where they're at. Let's see where the Steelers are at moving forward. Big Ben is not getting younger either. So, they're a team kind of in transition as well too. So we'll get to all that. Obviously tomorrow on the show, or the show, we'll have all these topics laid out. And we'll discuss all that on the show. But anyway, let's bring my buddy Cliff Connors. We're gonna talk some Mets baseball, and then maybe even touch some of these. What's up, Cliff?
What's happening, man?
Are you out in St. Lucie now? Where are you at?
No, I'm at home in Boynton Beach.
Seems like every time I talk to you, you're like on a diamond somewhere, like at a Met spring training game.
I've been to 5 so far this spring. For me, I think 3 in West Palm and 2 in St. Lucie, or the other way around. Can't really recall. Basically, I've seen Syndergaard twice, DeGrom once, Matz once, and Vargas once.
I miss those
pitchers go.
I miss those days when I could just leave my house and go to a spring training game like that back in the day. I used to do that all the time. And then now having a family and having 2 kids and having to, for me to even have a chance to go to even a spring training game, I have to get a babysitter and all this stuff. Like, oh my gosh, it's like an extra. Yeah, I miss those days sometimes. I'm not saying I hate being a parent. This is one of those things where that's the trade off.
No, exactly. I'm in a situation right now where I'm able to freely go to a baseball game if I'd like, and so on and so forth. Does that mean I don't want a family at some point? No, but
right.
That's another, it's another thing.
So some of my colleagues on Twitter, we got a running joke going on Twitter because every couple of days there's a new key injury for the Mets. Are these? Let me start here. Are these injuries going to be a major issue come April?
It really depends on the severity of them. The Todd Frazier thing is an oblique injury. Mm-hmm. Obliques aren't exactly easy, I guess you could say, to come back from. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of torque to a baseball swing, so that's kind of an issue. I'm not so worried about Frazier as much because of what he brings to it in the scheme of things, in my opinion, mm-hmm. as I am Jed Lowry. That's a guy that some people are like, oh, it's crazy because he came to the Mets and he just got hurt immediately. Yeah, the 2 years before he played 150 plus games or whatever. But basically the majority of his career before that, he was missing significant time, Losing him early isn't really the greatest thing, but they did build depth. And from what I've seen, with my own 2 eyes, and even, I watch the games, through the MLB at Bat app.
Right.
When I'm not there, if I can, if they're televised, I've seen that the depth is going to come into play, which is a good thing. You obviously want your best players on the field all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But injuries are part of the game. It's just unfortunate. The injury to Smith, that's a Tommy John surgery. So we're looking at 2020 before he even starts throwing the ball again, really. And that's he was most likely going to be in the bullpen. Go ahead.
Right. And that's kind of the running theme for this team because for me, in the last couple of years, because for me, especially last year, I believe this team is good health away from being back where they were 3-4 years ago. To me, this is a good roster. This has been a good roster for a couple of years. But these key guys get hurt at the wrong time, or out for extended period of time, and it really, for lack of a better word, fucks with the chemistry of that team.
It does, but if we think about what they've done in the past couple years, Asdrubal Cabrera and then the Jay Bruce saga. Right. It's kind of they're signing guys that are major league ready and have proven they can be good, et cetera, et cetera. That, and the 2015 roster is, other than basically the front end of the rotation and the re-addition of Familia, it's not really anywhere near the same. The difference is now is they've got 4 young guys with Conforto and Rosario and Nimmo and McNeil.
And guys who have a lot of upside.
Right. So, they're all coming into themselves now. Nimmo has shown he's just an on-base machine. He can hit for some power, etc. Conforto, if he put together a solid year without injuries, could be, in an MVP conversation. I'm not saying he'll win one or anything like that, but he's like a 280, 30, 100, big OPS guy. You know what I mean? Rosario has just been hitting line drive after line drive all spring, and he ended last year on a tear. All these guys are coming into their own, and McNeil, a lot of, there can be some things said about how long or what we've seen of him. What we've seen of him has been great, and he's versatile. So he swings the bat, he's aggressive. I think he's going to be just fine. Plus, he's hit at every level, And then you add Alonso, Ramos, Cano. Like when you talk about Cano, he just makes everybody around you better. He's looked unbelievable in the spring, but that's just because he's such a good hitter. He's obnoxiously good at the plate and in the field. He's silky smooth.
Right. Now, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, so the roster configurations are much different in my opinion, and it's a little bit more speed also in the lineup. McNeil's not, they're not fast, but Rosario is, and Nimmo can run, Conforto can run a little bit, McNeil can run a little bit. And they never had that in the last couple of years. They just didn't. There was just no speed putting hits together. They're built more to put some hits together. They've got guys who can hit the ball in the ballpark. That lineup is really good and really deep. And that's right now without Lowry in it at all. And he's going to be a big part of it.
Right. Now, this is my thought process, and this is even with Bryce Harper going to Philadelphia, which is obviously a very solid move for the team going forward. By the way, what's your thoughts on the Bryce Harper contract and all that? You forget the fact that you're a Met fan. If you're a Philly fan, 13 years, no opt-outs, all that. Are you a fan of it?
Dude, so he's a generational player, right?
Right.
And a lot of people point at some things like, he's had a couple bigger years, and he's had bad years, and he doesn't have these staggering WAR numbers and all of that compared to I don't even know, an Arenado or just guys like that, right? When you look at Bryce Harper, I'm a Mets fan, and I can't stand the fucking guy. Would I have liked to see them go after him and him come over and play for the Mets? I mean, you'd be crazy not to. 13 years is a long time. Philadelphia is not an easy place to play, but the ballpark suits him. My only question on that from his standpoint, not from a fan standpoint, is, well, now I have to face all of that NL East pitching, From a fan standpoint, and we landed Harper, and we also have Real Muto, who just came on, and we've added so many different pieces. That lineup is really good. It's just a matter if their pitching, does what they're supposed to do. I like it if I'm a fan. 13 years is a long time. That's the only reason he ended up there. I'm convinced. It was you would think he would have signed earlier, correct? If he really wanted to be in Philly. But they went an extra 3 years compared to the other teams that were offering 10 or a really short-term large annual value like the Dodgers wanted to do. I think he wanted to stay in San Francisco, but I mean, whatever. At this point, he's a Philly. He's a Philly for a long time, and Mets are going to have to deal with him, and that's all there is to it. I would have been all right with a Harper signing, but at the same time, the team that the Mets have right now is good. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I'm more of a St. Louis Cardinals type of direction guy. Get some value guys that can play well instead of getting married to a contract that maybe year 8, year 9, you ain't gonna like it. You still got 4 more years in the back end to deal with it.
You bring up a good point.
But I think the larger thing here is this. I think what happened here also is this is bigger than baseball for Philly. I think this is actually a marketing thing for the Phillies. I think they're gonna make Bryce Harper the face of not just the Philadelphia Phillies, but also Philadelphia sports in general.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've seen the numbers on the jersey sales, the ticket sales. They were, through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you spend money on a player of that caliber, you're going to get a return investment on him, not just on the field. So, he got his money. The Phillies got their man. Fuck him. I'm not worried about him. I am worried about him, but fuck him. The Mets have owned the Phillies for like the last 4 years.
I wouldn't. Honestly, this move is not fair. I don't fear this move one bit, dude. Honestly.
Yeah, it's whatever at this point. Like, I know that this pitching staff has seen him enough that they can get him out. They've proven they can get him out. It just is what it is. Fuck him. Like, they have to play every team in that division the same amount of times. There's only one team in that division that blows, and you need to beat them basically every time you play them. And then I believe the AL East plays the NL East plays the AL Central also, and that's a really weak division, so you have to take advantage of that shit.
Yeah, I agree.
That's how you win that division, because there's 4 teams that are going to be kicking the shit out of each other on a daily basis.
And that's my thought process there too. I believe the NL East, even with Bryce Harper going to Philadelphia, I believe the NL East on paper is still wide open. I believe that any of these 4 teams, Braves, the Mets, the Phillies, or even the Nationals, can actually compete and win the division.
There's no question about it. That's what makes it so exciting, and that's like what brings us into further conversation about how you go about things and how you're going to do things from the get-go,
right.
Like the Peter Alonso deal, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this division, it's up for grabs. Everybody made themselves better, in some form. The Mets made a lot of moves. The Phillies made some moves. Nationals made some moves. The Braves weren't as, aggressive, but they did fill some holes. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes.
Well,
but I do want to get into the Peter Alonso deal at some point.
Okay. So, well, I will say this though. My thing now is this. Mike Trout hits free agency next year. What his price tag? I mean, if Bryce is getting 13 and 330 with no opt outs, what is Mike Trout's value? Because to me, Mike Trout was the only guy, in my opinion, that actually was worth that kind of money. Not even I didn't even consider Bryce in that conversation. I thought Trout was the only guy I would even remotely consider paying this kind of money for.
Okay, so let me backtrack to Pete Alonso, not Peter Alonso.
Oh, Peter Alonso.
I don't know if you've heard about that, right? Because it's Pete. That's what he wants to be called. Okay, so let's talk about Trout. Dude, I think that you would see. First of all, he's from Philly, so that's like a big problem. Because he probably wants to play there. It's going to be a huge dick swinging contest, most likely, between the Yankees and the Phillies if the Angels don't step up to the plate and just be like, this is what you're getting and taking it. And what could that number be? I don't know. I think that you can see him get the same amount of years and a lot more money, just based on he's the best player in baseball. And he's young. Yeah. So, are we talking 13 and 400? Maybe at that point, who fucking knows, man? These are huge contracts, and 13 years is a long time. So if you're going to sign somebody for 13 years, it better be their first free agency. And
I just realized
you better keep
when I saw the deal, I remember being in my car picking up my kid from school, and when I saw the contract come through, when I saw the numbers come through for Bryce, when it was announced literally in the moment, I was saying to myself, wow, it's funny, his contract goes through. I'll be 52 when his deal ends. Not only that, my oldest son, who'll be 6 next month, will be 19 when that deal's over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you'd have been to a high school graduation by then.
Yes, it is insane to think that Bryce Harper's contract is going to pretty much fill in the next, decade and a half of my life.
Yeah, you kind of have to look at it that way from just a personal standpoint. It's just okay, I'm going to be this old. I'll be 48 years old at that point.
Yeah.
And probably, still yelling at my television, "Fuck you, Harper."
Probably three kids too. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe you have to be married with 3 kids. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
I hope she's a Met fan.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, those contract deals, like what you're talking about, like the money and the years and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, comparing Bryce Harper and Mike Trout is something that you can do, but is it really something that you can do when like one is clearly the best player in baseball and one isn't? No.
Yeah.
So
close.
anybody can you can speculate all you like. I wouldn't even really. The number I threw out, like 13 and 400, maybe it's more. Maybe he wants higher, like annual. Maybe he wants 2 free agencies. I don't know, but if you think about it, like I was watching just because baseball is on TV, a Nationals game on MLB Network, and they were talking about how, like you said, in 10, 12, 13 years, everybody will forget about him being a National because of how long he was a Philly.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
This is why I think this is a marketing thing too. It's not just baseball. This is marketing in general.
Right. And think about it all. The Nationals haven't even won a playoff. Like they never won a playoff series with him there. They were favorites in that division many different years. Mm-hmm. And they just didn't do shit. So, I mean, they had some pretty good bats around him too in certain years. Mm-hmm. So how much of a difference does he make? I don't know. The ballpark does play into this equation now. I will say that ballpark,
right? And I have more confidence in Philadelphia's front office to actually build around Bryce a lot more on a consistent basis than Washington, if we're being honest. Yeah,
and Washington's like they defer contracts forever too. So like, they've got a couple of young guys, but Philadelphia has a lot of young talent. And they're already building around that. I'm interested to see if you see them really, really extend Rio Muto.
Right.
Make sure I've got this, and then we're like, okay, we're going to bring Trout in, and then what the fuck happens?
Right.
They become a huge issue. So that leads right into for the Mets and even other teams in the league. Like these are the years that you have to try to win, or else it's going to be a real struggle.
Right. Okay, before I move to the next topic, move to the next sport, should I say. Are there any other Mets tidbits to be not concerned, but necessarily actually know about that you discovered in your 6 times going to spring training games this year?
Pete Alonso, like this whole saga of whether or not it's worth it for him to be sent down for 2 weeks or however, I'm not sure exactly. It's either 11 days, I think maybe 11 games. Anyway, I think a full service year is 172 games, 176. I might have to look that up at some point. I probably should have. But anyway, like this is all about service time, right? Okay. So it is. I'm sorry. It was right there. A full MLB service time is 172 days. Right?
Right.
So that means that's a full year. So essentially, if they keep him in the minors to start the year, now they've extended him for a full year. But that gives you 6 full years of control. But what does it matter in 2025 or whatever? We don't have any idea what they're going to look like.
Yeah.
The guy hit 36 bombs last year. He's been just hitting rockets all over in spring training. People are talking about Dom Smith, can hold him over and all that. If Pete Alonso is better than Dom Smith, which I think he brings more to the table just because he's a right-handed power bat,
right?
Complements Ramos. There's days that Ramos isn't going to be in the lineup, etc. If he's your best option, and you've built to win now, these games mean as much as the end, right? So, send him out there. Play him. Let him go. Who gives a fuck? Worry about extending his contract if he looks good. If not, you're on to year, whatever.
I hate, and this is in sports in general, conservative front offices. Stop. If he's ready to go, he's ready to go. But get him out there.
Exactly. And I will say this, I wanted Dom Smith to do well the whole time he's been in the Mets organization, right? He he might have gotten buried last year a little bit, the whole Adrian Gonzalez thing. Yeah. But he also shows up to the first day of spring late, the first game late and stuff like that. He's a career negative 1.8 WAR when he did get it sometime, and I think he's got a 210 batting average. It just bad numbers, Yeah, 210, 14 dingers, whatever. I'm kind of looking at it right now with him. But he's had a really good spring. So, I can understand kind of where people are saying, keep him down, you get the extra year. And that would be great if we had any idea what was going on in 6 years. We don't. They built to win now. You play to win now. It's a simple concept. It's really simple, and some people can't get it through their mind. No. It's really hard for them. But that's my biggest thing is if you're building to win and you have a guy that's ready to go, play it. Because I don't know, I think there's been 6 or 7 years in the last 30 years the Mets have missed the playoffs or missed winning the division by one game. Maybe that at bat was the difference, but he's ready to go. You play him, and he is ready, dude. He hits rockets. It sounds like I think I posted a thing on Twitter or whatever. I'm kind of new to it, and I was that should be my alarm in the morning. It's the ball coming off his bat. It's that different. The sound is that different.
Right.
So he's somebody to look out for. Rosario is going to have a huge year, and if Conforto just stays healthy, look out because Cano and these guys around him are going to help. They're going to be very good, very very competitive. The whole division's going to be really interesting and wild.
I just realized that Robinson Cano is turning 37 this year.
Yeah, he's old, but he doesn't look it.
Have you seen?
He does not look. He hit a ball today through the wind on a line, 425 feet to center field. He just looks so good at the plate, so smooth in the field. It's, I'm not worried about him at all, especially in this window that we've talked about in the past.
Right.
So, dude, he's up there in age, but there's also a lot of talks about a possible DH coming to the National League, so that might work in their favor.
I guess it happened as early as 2020, honestly.
You did? I'm sorry?
No, so I can see that happening as early as 2020. That rule be implemented where the DH. I'm for it, to be honest with you. One league plays with it and one doesn't. It does affect numbers. It will affect history, but it does impact World Series. I say that much, and strategy, and
right.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Well, it does. It impacts the World Series when you're playing in an NL ballpark and your AL pitcher hasn't even bunted and stuff. That's a big deal. But first of all, you don't want to you don't want your pitchers to have any other chance to get hurt. So that's kind of a thing for me.
Right.
The fans like a little bit more offense too. For me, I like offense for my team, but I like pitching for my team also.
Yes.
But offense is good for the general game of baseball, I would say. You'll see more of that. But National League pitchers' numbers won't be as good either. It's just one of those things where I don't really care. But from a standpoint of what the Mets look like right now, if it were to be something that were in effect this year, it would really help them. But that's just not a thing. Next year is a possibility. I think you might see it in 2 years if it goes. Mm-hmm. Next year might be a rush, but who knows?
Yeah.
All these proposals are crazy.
Of course, yeah. But I'm actually glad that look, I'm one of those, I'm a bit of a curmudgeon too. I like my traditional baseball, but there's a couple things in baseball that could be changed that would be positive for the game. DH in the National League, definitely a good thing, That's a good thing. I think that's a good progressive thing.
I agree, but you'll find that a lot of people disagree with that.
Oh, of course, because baseball, there's still a lot of the old hat involved in the game. I get it, and I'm there too. Yeah. I'm there too. Mostly.
Yeah, but it's one of those that are up for debate, and there's going to be good arguments from both sides.
I'm pro replay. I was for replay because I'm all about getting it right at the end of the day. Get it right.
Yeah. I do like replay also. Sometimes it does take a little bit too long.
It really shouldn't, to be honest with you. Something as simple as a foul ball or if it's fair or foul shouldn't take more than a minute or two, honestly.
No, No, I mean, obviously there's exceptions, but for sure, the replay does take too long, but it takes too long at the end of a basketball game. It takes too long in football games a lot, and a lot of the times it's pretty obvious, but, the game evolves. A lot of sports evolve. It just is what it is, man. We've got what we've got. We got to deal with what they give us.
Right. Okay, let's switch it up now. NFL free agency. Before we get to the general discussions around free agency, you're a big Bills fan, of course, Buffalo Bills fan. Any reaction to some of the moves they've made thus far? Cole Beasley.
So they've gotten two. So with Beasley and Brown, they got two veteran receivers for a young quarterback that showed some promise. Mm-hmm. A lot of it, actually. Antonio Brown would have been a Bill if he wasn't such a fucking pussy.
Oh my God.
And I hope they play him and fucking just absolutely annihilate him. I'm trying. Jordan Poyer. I don't know if you knew this or not. But Jordan Poyer, like his baby mama or whatever, had a fucking affair apparently with Antonio Brown.
I read about that, right? on I believe it was on Black Sports Online. I believe I read that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope he takes his head off. I hope when Antonio Brown comes there, I don't even care. Like Bills fans get all the shit. Throw as many dildos on the field as you want.
Oh my God.
You've seen how that is, right?
Well, to be honest with you, I think Antonio Brown may have actually impacted Josh Allen in a negative way. It is possible that may not have been the best fit anyway. See, you may have actually gotten away with, made out scot-free by not getting him. Trust me.
So I'm
as good as he is. Trust me, he's a phenomenal player. I'm just saying, young quarterback.
I'm perfectly content with what you just said, just so it kind of holds me, like it keeps me on from going off the ledge, because like he's a superstar. But what you said is correct. I want development from Josh Allen, and Beasley and Brown can help him with that. My thing, and they got this Cross kid that is as a tight end, but he doesn't have like a big target to throw to. So I'm wondering if they go that route. And I know at 9, I know that there's that DK Mitchell kid. Mm-hmm. I'm just not sure how big is he. I'm not really familiar with his size. He would be a good go get, but they need offensive line help. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I think they signed Kevin Johnson also, who's a former first rounder. They signed that. Yeah, they just signed him 3 or 4 days ago. And he's a good addition to an already really good defense. So I'm all right with it. They didn't make any huge splashes, but what they've been doing the last 3 years, they went to a playoff with Tyrod and it was built around defense. Last year we knew it was going to be a struggle, but they were better than I expected, and their defense was really good. So now you have to work on getting him weapons. For sure. And a crazy stat. The other side of the ball, Josh Allen, and this is fantasy football, but he was the number 1 fantasy quarterback weeks 12 through 17.
Insane. That's insane.
Right?
And by the way, Buffalo needs sustainability. They need sustainability not for 1-2 years. Buffalo is trying to build for the future, for the next 5 to 10 years. So Antonio Brown is not going to help you really in the long term.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I was happy about it, and then when I heard about it, I was like, fuck you. And the more like I read about it and think about it, maybe it is a better thing, but he's a superstar. But then they also just went and signed Frank Gore. So I think their backfield is a combined 67 years old between him and McCoy.
Frank Gore is a beast, dude. He still runs with heart. Great leadership, too. Yep.
Oh, I love it. I love that part. But what did he didn't have a ton of runs or whatever, but he still had a pretty good, yard per carry last year.
He did.
I can't remember it.
Yeah, he did. In Miami, yeah.
He's a legend as far as length of career, and he's had great numbers. I just don't know how much he has left in the tank, but
he's a Hall of Famer.
If he's gonna, yeah, for sure. But if he's gonna help, then all right. And I know, I read a lot of stuff on him and Shady being pretty tight, I guess. So, but Chris Ivory, I don't know if he's even part of the equation still. He's a fumble machine, but he runs downhill real well. So No, we'll see. I would like them to make like a big splash, but we'll see what happens in the draft. You know, they've got a plan. It seems to be getting better. It's hard to be super optimistic, except for Josh Allen is really exciting, and if he can find any accuracy, he's going to be a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I would obviously the caution for Josh Allen is less running, more throwing. That's the one thing I want to see: less running, more throwing. Because the more you run, it's gonna, make your legs your weapon, not dependent on that. That's all.
The other thing about the two, the Beasley and the John Brown signing is like those guys are pretty fast. So when he extends plays, it gives them some time to get open again. You know, so maybe that was part of the idea. You know, he likes to extend the play a lot, and he plays in a very difficult place to throw the football. I talked to a buddy about that the other day also. So, well, you know, we got to just see what happens as far as that goes. But what they've done has been, I don't know, from a 1 to a 10, they've probably done 6.5 or a 7 from my perspective.
Yeah, I can roll that. Again, I think this team seems stable. It seems like there's a direction. Unlike my Giants.
It's about time.
Unlike my Giants. Odell Beckham traded to the Browns. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, and I said that on top of the show today. In the onset, when I heard the trade, when I saw what I got in return, I was like, okay, I can live with that. It's number 17 pick in the draft, third rounder, and Jabril Peppers, who's a solid player. I know who he is. He's a solid player. But the more I sit on this, I'm thinking, okay, I think my fear right now of the Giants is, do I trust this front office? Do I trust this regime? Do I trust David Gettleman? Because there's a lot of receipts from players, D'Angelo Williams, Steve Smith, who do not like the guy. And I don't know.
Not a lot of fans do either, man. I don't know. Like you said, the direction. So what do they do? What do the Giants do this year? Do they draft a quarterback in a shitty? I mean, I shouldn't say a shitty QB class because we can never really.
Well, I just got a text right now, and one of my theories may come to life that the Giants are open to trading for Josh Rosen if need be, if the Cardinals want to talk trade. So that's one
crazy
option.
That I literally was just saying with a QB class like this, do you take the chance in that class? But if you're going to make that move. Okay, but what do we know about him other than he played for a really bad team?
Really shit team. The worst line in football last year. It was hard to evaluate him.
Yeah,
and he's a bargain, too, because honestly, I was looking at some numbers the other day. I was listening to another podcast, and I found out 2 days ago that Josh Rosen's contract, his guaranteed money is already gone. So basically, he's playing for pretty much 3 years at $6 million.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
his guaranteed money was in his rookie year. His rookie year was his guaranteed money?
They already paid him, in other words. So.
Okay. What the fuck?
That's what I read. I could be interpreting that wrong, but that's what I heard on a podcast I was listening to a couple days ago.
That'll be something to take a look at.
It's a bargain.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, but what kind of where are they trading in the draft for him?
Right.
How are they?
I guess the bigger question is this, though, too. What's the better value? Is the better value to draft a quarterback in the draft now, or to trade for a guy who's only 1 year in, who already has NFL experience from last year, and you can trust him into your system now? What is going to cost you less? I guess more than anything else.
Well, they've got 13 picks this year, right? Is that what the Giants have? Is 13 picks?
I'm not sure the exact number. They got 2 in the first round, obviously.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, if it's not, it's up there, dude. It's double digits, over 11. I think it is 13.
I know the Pats have 12.
Huh?
I know the
that'll be something. That'll be something to look to take a look at. But I think it's 13. I could be wrong. Okay. I'm not a Giants fan. I just. I scrolled through something earlier that I'm pretty sure I saw 13, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, it depends on what are you giving up for him as opposed to what could I draft with that, or can I wait? And how much longer are you guys going to have Eli Manning throwing the football for you.
I really believe this is his last year. Because
number
one, his contract is up after this year, so that's the first thing. And by the way, one of the things I really can't stand about Giant fans, post-mortem, post Beckham trade, is that this idea that the Giants pick Eli over Odell. I don't think Eli mattered in the equation anyway. Eli was going to be here next year regardless of Odell was here or not. Because even if you draft a quarterback in April, Eli will still be here to at least be the bridge for one more year.
Yeah, if he's got 1 year left, like that.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't even matter.
Whoever brings that up just doesn't understand what the fuck they're talking about.
This is someone to blame. That's all. If something bad happens, something you don't agree with, I gotta blame somebody. Somebody. I don't care who it is. Gotta be somebody. I don't know. Obama. I don't
know. So Odell played one game. One playoff game there, right? Am I right?
Yep.
And he was like, he didn't do shit.
No,
correct.
Yeah, like
so.
Is this
a huge deal?
In fact, and that guy he had two big drops.
Two big drops, right? Okay, so like I think both teams can benefit from this. If the Giants got back, I'm pretty sure they just made a move and picked up a center from the Browns.
They traded Olivia Vernon last week for the Browns center. Yes.
Okay, so all right, so let's just think. If you're the Giants, you've got two NFL players that are good, right? And now you've got two picks for a guy that was becoming an issue, I guess.
Quote unquote issue. He wasn't Antonio Brown bad. He wasn't a locker room issue. Let's put it that way.
No, I get it, but dude, he threw temper tantrums. He was kicking nets and stuff like that. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. He's a superstar, and the Browns just fucking loaded themselves right up to be. They like shot up. I got a text yesterday. Didn't check to make sure, but somebody told me they shot up to like being the third favorite to win the Super Bowl next year.
I heard the fourth. So but your premise is correct because I heard fourth, but your premise is correct.
Right, and I don't know. Like, you'd have to assume that Kareem Hunt gets suspended. Is that going to be 6, 8, 12, a full year?
Exactly.
How many games is that going to be? But you have Chubb there, who, like, even when he was at Georgia splitting carries with Sony Michel, they're both studs, and he's good, so he'll be fine. And you've got Njoku, who is like underused and didn't really perform well last year. I know because he was my fantasy tight end that I couldn't get rid of, or couldn't stop playing because I just kept leaving. Mm-hmm. And even like Antonio Callaway also? This kid's like, he's got off the field issues, but he can fucking burn it, So the Browns have and they have really good pass rush too.
I mean, it's definitely a temperamental locker room. I will say that. It definitely is. But if it works out well, it's gonna be good.
It really could. Well, you have to remember Landry and Beckham played together at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got Mayfield, who's like, dude, I've loved the guy since he's a gamer. All he wants to do is win. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about him, or what they said before the year. I was all for him before the year. I was happy he had a good year. I wouldn't say great, but a good year. All those guys have personalities. And, I think that, obviously it was mid-season that the Browns made a coaching change. But I think that they're starting to like come together all together. So for them, everything I think is all well and good. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see if there's any problems in that locker room.
Of course.
But I just don't know if that's going to happen just because of the familiarity that Beckham has with Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
Like that, those guys can kind of keep each other calm, I guess you could say. So the Giants.
I'll say this much though, but I'll say this much: their ceiling right now is definitely winning the division. I think it's. Now this is funny because my thought process was this on Monday after the Brown trade went down. I still said that even with the Browns going on the way up, I thought the Steelers were still the favorites in the division. Now with this move with Beckham and everything else, the Browns should win the division. Now, are the Browns better than New England? Probably not. Are they better than Kansas City? Probably not. I'm not even sure if they're better than the San Diego Chargers. But
the Chargers can. You're going to put them in your top 10 so many times, and they're going to like fail you. You should just keep them every week next year at 15, no matter where they are.
I swear to God, you're like one of the biggest like trolls on my weekly rankings every single week.
Most of us are the same.
It's great. Though. I love it.
So the only thing that dude, Phillip Rivers is another one. He's a gamer and all this and all that. They just don't win. They don't end up doing shit ever. You know, keep them at 15. You won't have to finish at the end of the year, dude.
It makes for a great conversation, though. I'll say that much.
Of course it does. And then, you know, you got people like me. Last year was mostly a joke with me and the Bills and all that.
Right.
But you had them ranked dead fucking last, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of the year. And that was not the case.
Look at the optics, bro. I mean, it looked bad. But give the Bills credit,
you
man.
You saw Nathan Peterman, and I don't blame you.
Yeah. But to be fair, man, Buffalo really turned shit around. They really, I mean, they're number 2 ranked defense in the league last year. I mean, you got to give them credit, man. They really showed up. You know, they could have been better than the record. They were better than the record. Trust me on that one.
Were they? Did they end up 2? I know they were like 1 in yards against, like 2 in rushing and 13 in passing, or vice versa, 1 to 2, something like that.
Yeah. But they're better than the record. They're much better than the record. You know, another storyline that went on the radar with all this Odell talk. The Ravens got beefed up a little bit. Earl Thomas, and they got Mark Ingram from New Orleans. The Ravens. Not to forget, that's not.
Didn't they just lose Terrell Suggs though?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's 50-something years old. Come on now.
So, I mean, the Ravens. This is the thing about the Ravens. Like Lamar Jackson is. Dude,
it falls on him, buddy.
Thrower. I guess it does. You know, their defense is always going to be good, right? I mean, it can't be they're the Ravens. They have to have a good defense.
They're definitely 8-8. That's the floor. 8-8, 7-9. That's the floor. Which is not bad. That's not a bad floor to have. But I mean,
you're right. Well, dude, think about it. Last year, like, so that's like an option type deal for the most part. It's run heavy. Those games go by faster than any other games. The Ravens are always going to be in football games with like what they have going on as far as who their quarterback is. And like, he doesn't have much received, like, you know, there's nobody for him to really throw the ball to. Think about what he had last year. And didn't he have, was it Crabtree he had? No, he's gone. Am I wrong?
He's gone now.
Yeah, he's gone. Right. But that was like it. And it didn't really matter. So like, they were winning the game running the ball, and he was a big part of that. And with defense, so is that going to be like their thing? Is that what they're going to stick with? And if they do, they better like really go after it.
I mean,
run the ball with your quarterback.
We could put Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in the same box, pretty much the same thing. Less running, more throwing. I mean, it's the same thing.
You can in that regard, but it's as far as drawing up plays. You don't see Buffalo drawing up nearly as many plays for Josh Allen to run the football than you saw with Lamar Jackson.
Of course,
not even close.
But to be fair, also the Ravens were playing desperate. John Harbaugh was playing for coaching for his job. At that point, just throw shit at the kitchen sink. Whatever works. And it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it did work. I mean, I like watching. I like exciting players, and he's an exciting player.
Right.
The NFL is impossible to predict for the most part. At the same time, we're all getting sick of the same dance, like song and dance. You know.
Well, Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl, yeah.
Of course, yeah. Like, I mean, and don't get me wrong. You know, whatever, they deserve it for the most part. Stuff like, but like Sean McVay. He just got like worked in the Super Bowl. He didn't make any adjustments. They didn't do shit. You know what I mean?
That team was shell-shocked. I mean, fucking Jared Goff was shell-shocked.
Right, but at the same time, I think there were 2 calls 2 weeks prior in the championship games where it should have been 2 different teams.
Of course. And not only that, D Ford, if D Ford stays does not go in, is not in the neutral infraction, Kansas City's going to the Super Bowl.
Well, I just don't understand. The NFL is impossible to predict, but the breath of fresh air was Patrick Mahomes, obviously last year, Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
And, I don't know if you remember me telling you, I had a prop after week 3 that, Mahomes would win the MVP. That was nice.
Yes, I think you and my buddy Blake had that also too. A preseason bet. Yeah.
No, mine wasn't preseason. Mine was after week 3.
Oh, okay.
So it was
he had a preseason bet.
Like plus 1,400.
Yeah.
He probably had a real nice price.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, but
he deserved it. Like it is what it is.
Yeah,
man.
He's great. Now we'll see how he.
But it's also impossible to predict.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I let you go, any other standouts in free agency that you want to speak up on? Le'Veon Bell to the Jets.
Yeah, so like I want to hate the Jets, and I want to like not think that Darnell is going to be any good. He looks like he's going to be a pretty good quarterback in the NFL.
Sam Darnold is solid. He's solid.
Yeah. I think he's going to be. I hope I'm wrong because I hate the Jets. I'm sorry to any Jets fans out there. Sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Hate the Bills too.
Don't be sorry. It's okay.
That being said, they just got like an absolute superstar who's like as fresh as anybody. He's the best. He's the best in the game because he can catch the ball too, and like he's like a receiver. That was a problem, but I think it was funny that was it Anthony Barr? Like he like verbally commits.
Yeah,
what happened after that?
Oh my god,
dude, he fucking committed. All right, he commits to sign with them and go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he actually physically gets sick after he vomits. Like he can't. He's like, I can't play in New York. Blah blah blah. And just not made for it. Goes back to the Vikings. They negotiate, and he's like, all right, I'll stay. This is where I'm signing. That he threw up.
I don't get it. Maybe he's a Jets as an angle to get more money out of Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe that's possible too.
I don't know. All I know is the story is that he like physically got ill after he made the commitment, which is hilarious to me. But I guess maybe some guys aren't made to play there, but it's the Jets. Like, it's like the Bill. I could be like, it's the Dolphins, whoever it is, but New York's different, I guess you could say. Maybe he just doesn't want to be on the front page of the newspaper.
Again,
I don't
right?
know.
It's his prerogative.
It really is. These guys are making a shit ton of money anyway. You can vomit as much as you want when you sign a contract like that. I don't give a fuck. But as far as NFL free agency goes, I think more NFL. I think are there more Major League Baseball players right now left in free agency? Because there's a lot of guys still unsigned.
In baseball or in football?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like in Major League Baseball right now, there's still probably like 12 to 15 guys we can like think of that aren't signed that should certainly have a job, and one of them just came off with the Adam Jones signing in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the NFL, they're just like, you're going, I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here. Nobody's left. Who's out there?
Can I just say though, and I said this on this podcast last week, that I think, especially with names like Machado and Harper, like waiting to literally during spring training to make decisions, it's actually good for baseball.
It's overall. Good for baseball?
Well, yeah, it is, because it garners some interest even in the winter months when nothing's going on.
It does, man, but you've got to look at it from like preparation standpoints and like what front offices are going to do. I'm a proponent of like moving up, like making a free agent signing needing to be like having a deadline like July 31st deadline or whatever.
Right.
I don't like. I mean, right now you're looking, dude. Like, think about it. You got Keuchel and Kimbrel, Gio Gonzalez, Carlos Gonzalez. I mean, I'm just trying to think. Like, I'm missing guys, obviously, but these guys don't have a job right now. Why? Why don't they have a job? Well, they want a little more money than they're probably worth at the times in their career. Mm-hmm. And like a guy like Keuchel, he comes off of, he misses a full year of injury, right? And then he comes off of a year where his velocity is way down, even though he doesn't throw the ball hard anyway. But he has his worst year ever. So like he's now, and unfortunately for him, that's free agency year. It's his real show me year. So he just needs to go find someone to pay him like $18 million for 1 year and then say, have a good year and then get your big contract. Kimbrough's another story because he's just flat out nasty, but he's on a little bit of the decline if you want to say that, but he wants like 6 years and no one's doing that. So just think about the difference in the two sports that we're talking about and what's happened in free agency. Okay. There's been all sorts of talk in like a 3-day period of time with the NFL, and teams have an idea of what directions they're going because they're going into the draft. In Major League Baseball, teams know where they're going. Teams know that they might need these guys to, a certain guy. Teams might be talking to them, but they don't have the whole picture. I mean, a lot of teams have the whole picture, but not everybody. You know? If you sign a guy like Keuchel or Kimbrel, Carlos Gonzalez is one thing as far as he's on the decline too. But like Gio Gonzalez is like a really good sign, and I want the Mets to kind of look at him. But anyway, these guys are just sitting there. They've got no jobs right now. Meanwhile, in the NFL, they're just signing and getting it over with. Like, who's even left? Who's left in the free agent market in the NFL right now? Could you name me three guys?
I mean, I guess Blake Bortles is a free agent now. Now he just got cut by the Jaguars. But
he's going to sign.
But a lot of these guys too. Also, a lot of these deals are made behind closed doors, like at the combine. So I mean, it's almost unfair in a lot of ways. So.
Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, it gives the teams the direction they need going into the draft. And with baseball right now, most teams do have their direction, but think about how long things were drawn out. Like even trade rumors and the Real Muto stuff, like all of that. Like I don't like it as much for baseball. I'm good with the winter meetings and stuff, but let's get some stuff done. Give it 2 weeks, max 3 after the winter meetings, and have it done. Like let's figure out what's going on, etc. It doesn't take this long, man. Right. So that's basically what I've got as far as I don't know if we missed anything I wanted to touch on.
No, we got everything. But, we got everything. I have the list right here and everything we touched on, and then some, should I say? So, Cliff,
cool, man.
Hey, before you go, plug your Twitter, man, because you're on Twitter now.
Yeah, I'm going to probably. It looks like anywhere from it's going to be a week or 2 weeks. It's going to be either. Basically, depending on when I want to write, I'm just going to blog some Mets stuff
on Twitter.
It'll be posted there.
I can get a site.
I'll do it. It'll be on Facebook. I will post it on Twitter. We'll see how things go from there. It's just at Cliffy C LGM. So at Cliffy C LGM. I'm very new to Twitter. I will tell you, like there are a couple, like there are people that write for the Mets that I follow basically, just sports on there. And there's a lot of people that write for the Mets and like, I read some of Andy Martino's shit and I can't stop laughing. And then there's this other guy, I won't even plug his fucking idiot. He retweets some of my replies. Like he tells me like he's got inferior baseball opinions than me and stuff. It's just so funny with guys like that. Right. And then like retweets things I say, just to give you an example, and then we'll stop this. The other day, did you see the Josh Reddick, Pete Alonso collision?
No.
If you didn't, you need to like YouTube exactly what I just said. It'll pop up. I was there. I can send you a picture. Oh, so Reddick laid a bunt down the third baseline. Mm-hmm. Seth Lugo picked the ball up. Alonso was playing pretty, not expecting a bunt. So he's coming to cover the bag. Okay. The ball is thrown up the line. Alonso's able to catch it, but he catches it and he's able to turn like his right shoulder inside. And Reddick literally hits him and falls down. It was like he ran into a brick wall because Alonso's a monster. And they tweeted back and forth after the game after it. I literally could hear it from my seat and I took a picture of it. Anyway, there was this big like debate on how handled the throw or like, how he should have been on the bag and stuff when essentially like you're taught at young levels. And I mentioned this even in a collegiate level, even if it was Division III, like you're like giving him the biggest target. If the throw is like up the line, you can get to it. If not, like if it's a good throw, you're just there. If you need to like maneuver to like pivot to your right foot to cover because the throw is like inside the diamond more, you can. just basically made that comment, and this guy's like, "That's what happens to guys who think they know what they're talking about and never made it to the bigs." And I'm like, dude, so. And then like all these terrible opinions. At the same time, there are great guys that on Twitter, like Michael Mayer and like Tacoma, like even Jared Diamond. These guys, like I can agree with and stuff like that. And even if I differ in opinion, there's reasoning behind it. So. I will be doing some blogging on there. I don't know how many people. I think I've got 75 people that follow me right now. But
that's good. Though.
I've really only
you know what?
Like,
honestly, like I can use a fresh voice for the Mets. Honestly, I really could.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
this is going to be. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just. I'll do it when I feel like it. Hopefully somebody sees it and likes it. You know what I mean? I don't know what else.
I'll retweet you, of course. So why not?
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see what happens there. It'll be fun. I hope I'm not in a pissed off mood when I'm writing it, because you know how the Mets can be, and baseball is a long year. But there'll be many, and they'll be starting anywhere from a week to 2 weeks from now. Just so I want to know a little bit more about what they're going into the regular season with. I've got my ideas. I've got it's my own 25 man that I do have written down. But we'll see if that comes to fruition. Basically it looks to be without Frazier and Lowry there at the beginning of the year. Like the last three spots are either like Dom Smith, Mesoraco, or Hector Santiago. And Santiago and Oswalt will be their two guys that if they need starts from, they'll go to. And Oswalt's already back down in the minor camp, so he can be ready if need be. So, we'll see. That'll be fun. I appreciate it, man. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
Let's talk.
Well, check what we'll do. What we'll do about the year, we'll check it every couple of weeks. I mean, and see what the Mets are doing. Stay in the Met podcast and just kind of check and see what they're doing.
Yeah, something like every quarter year, something like that. Whatever. If something crazy happens, talk about it for 10 minutes. Who knows? You know.
Right. Exactly. Cliff, thank you as always, man. It was great. All right, before I get out of here, I want to talk about a little special announcement. Nothing really big, but something really dear to my heart, I guess, to some degree. Okay, so most of you guys know I'm a big-time wrestling fan, but mostly old school. And in fact, I won't say mostly, it is old school pretty much, whether it's Attitude Era or especially Hulkamania era. Even in Next Generation, then New Generation, the early '90s, WWF, all that. This year and this coming April, should I say, April 2nd, is actually the 30-year anniversary of WrestleMania 5. Of course, WrestleMania 5 was headlined by Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, which was the Mega Powers Explode Extravaganza. Macho was the champion, of course. That was the Mega Powers and the peak of the Powers prior to the fight. And so it's 30 years later. So came with the idea with me and Ray Moraldi, a good friend of the pod. We're gonna do a podcast on the Mega Powers and on that match, but also we're gonna touch on everything leading up to that big fight. To me, the Mega Powers angle is to me still the most entertaining and the most definitely my favorite and the biggest storyline in the history of wrestling, history of the business. It's so many different angles, the subtle things that they did, leading up to the fight, how they, subtly put little clues into things like that. It was really, really cool, and it really was the first storyline I can remember really in wrestling history that really took storytelling to the next level. So we're gonna touch on all that. We're gonna touch on the moments from when they started in '87. When Macho turned to a face, through '87 to '88 when Macho became champion, and then Hogan leaves for a little while. All that we're gonna touch on all that. We're gonna do a podcast reminiscing on the Mega Powers and all that, leading up to the WrestleMania 5 match, which again is now 30 years old as of April. So that is the little announcement here for the show today. Again, thank you to Cliff Connors for coming on the show. I guess, as I said earlier, we're going to have a lot of pods this week. I have 2 more dropping this week, including the show, everything the show, with myself, Mark Francois, and Kyle Nash will be co-hosting with me. Should be a good show. Until then.